Hey everybody, welcome back to video game Esoterica and our brand new series, Philosophical Ponderings, where we take a deep dive into the meaning and intent behind games versus taking a look at the game mechanics themselves. First off, we have Little Nightmares, released on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and that little girl in the yellow raincoat climbing up the chain is 6, and she has been imprisoned on the Ma, a large ship which we're not quite certain of the function of yet. In the background, you will see those rather obese people boarding the ship, and very shortly we will find out why they are there. But when I was thinking about games to pick for this series, this game was definitely the first thing that popped into my head, because when I initially played this, I was absolutely blown away by the story, the visuals, and everything that make up the universe of Little Nightmares. It has an otherworldly feeling to it that most games strive to make, but never quite succeed, where this just absolutely hits a home run out of the park immediately. If you take a thought at the title, Little Nightmares, I mean, little being children and nightmares, obviously we all know what those are. In a way, this kind of feels like the deep fears of an 8-year-old child, someone who's not quite sure how the world works and can kind of concoct stories in their head of things to be afraid of that make absolutely no sense to an adult, but yet in their brain, it makes perfect sense. You'll see in the background there that those large people are boarding the ship, and it's just a little background. Previously to this scene, you've been navigating the Ma, escaping different people that are trying to harm you in some way or another, a butcher wearing a mask who's cutting up meat, and you will see why that's important very shortly. But as far as the universe the game inhabits, it makes perfect sense and yet makes no sense at the same time, because things are natural enough looking. I mean, you have human characters. There are no real monsters unless you take the actions that they, kind of show to you as being monstrous. But there is no big bad monster. There are no demons. There's no otherworldly enemies to speak of. But the human being in this game is its own monster, which is definitely something that's been talked about in games and media and film and books from, time and time again, where human beings actually the real enemy. But if you take a look at the left there, you see that woman known as the Lady, and she is the antagonist of the game if the game does have one, and you do have a boss battle with her in the end. But really, a traversal of the world and just seeing how poorly children are treated in this game is, in of itself, the theme. Now, to touch on the gameplay topic just a little bit, because it is a game, we should talk about it. It's a very simple, rudimentary system. You can jump, you can climb, and you can grab. Control-wise, I will say that the game is touchy, and you do struggle from time to time where your inputs do drop, but the game is so incredibly unique and just something I've never seen before when I played it, that you can forgive a lot of those missteps. But as you see, we come in here, there's some silhouettes in the background, and there's all this food sitting on these tables. And as you come into the next room, you'll see these gluttonous people are just voraciously consuming meat, like their appetite cannot be slaked no matter what they do. And now we're kind of getting a little bit more of a sense as to why there's children trapped on this boat in the first place. Because apparently in this world, meat might be scarce, or as you can see here, as that large man grabs 6 and eats her, maybe normal meat is not the preferred meal for most people, because she seems to be much more desirable than the ham steaks and the sausages on the table itself. Almost has a little bit of a Hansel and Gretel feel, where baking children, cooking children is the desire, and it seems like these people want to eat children more than any other meat, because you'll see they just stop jamming the sausages down their mouths and go after 6 to try to eat her, which is never fully explained in the story. My guess is that something in the world has changed or happened that caused these people to act the way they did. Now, there is a sequel to this game coming out, and the trailer does show you getting off the Ma and onto the mainland of some country. It's really not specified, but you can definitely tell that there's been some sort of societal collapse that has made these people act the way they are. But clearly they're not starving, because you can tell by the looks of them, they are morbidly obese, their faces are fat, their bodies are round. They just don't seem like they're starving whatsoever. But as far as the world the game inhabits, the lack of a soundtrack, the atmospheric effects, the scale and stature of 6 against all of these human features doesn't make any sense, and that kind of just goes to further cement how odd this game feels. Because even if she is a child, there is no child that small compared to the human beings around her. The scale just doesn't work whatsoever, so it's very hard to understand if they're the same species or why something like that would actually occur or exist in the real world or the world that this inhabits. And I do think that's something that the sequel hopefully gives us a little bit more information or answers on. There was actually a graphic novel that went along with this series, but they're since out of print, and I can't seem to find them for any sort of decent price. So unfortunately, I don't have that backstory. But what the game gives you is more than enough to really understand how the world functions and how it feels. And I can't recommend this game highly enough. It's something that everyone should experience at least once. Like I said, the gameplay is good. It's nothing that you've never played before, and it's not really innovating on gameplay mechanics. But as far as the story it's telling is concerned, it's something that I've never seen in gaming before, and this game left a lasting impression on me that I will never forget. What I want to let you do is listen to a little bit of the sound effects and a little bit of just how the game sounds. I'll be back in a minute, but enjoy this very gross segment. And now that we've escaped the very fat man trying to eat us, we're going to get to the next theme in the game, and it is much more perverse and strange than even the concept of eating children is. And I think that's what I like about this game so much, is that while the overall theme is kind of childlike nightmares and the poor treatment of children, the game evolves its storyline to give us more information about what's going on in the maw itself. Because it's not just a restaurant ship, even though it seems to serve the primary function to feed people, there's also a lot of other things going on that we don't know about. And we got captured by that chef there, and he's wearing a mask. There's something underneath that mask, but the game never tells us exactly why he's wearing it, but in certain scenes he will lift it up and scratch his face underneath the mask, so possibly he's disfigured or there's something else going on. But the game leaves enough information that's not told to us so that we're able to kind of inform our own narrative and try to understand what might be going on. Even if we're completely wrong, it is nice to be given the space to be able to tell our own story to ourselves. And that might be scarier than the actual answer. If you're able to imagine something, you're going to try imagine the worst thing possible, and that might even be more frightening than the reality of it. But you will see here, now that he slammed the door, this large tin has been dropped, and what we're going to do is we're going to throw it into the mirror, and it's going to shatter. But what's behind the mirror is even more disturbing than what we've seen already. That is a one-way mirror, and there is a chair pointing directly at the toilet, telling us that someone's been sitting on that chair watching people use the toilet. And that is something that's definitely not really shown in games very often at all. And I think that's one of the major themes of Little Nightmares, is the sheer devotion to vice. Whether it's gluttony, whether it's perversion, the people in this universe will do anything they can to be satisfied. Whether that's sexually, whether that's appetite-wise. You can even see through that silhouette there with the chef butchering more meat. No matter how much they eat, they're never satisfied. These people are trying to find their next fix, no matter what it takes and no matter what it is. It's almost like the desire to consume, whether that be food or otherwise, is just basically killing them or causing them to become more monstrous than human. And you could say that that could be slightly an allegory to our own society, where consumerism and consumption just run rampant until really we function just as people that are there to buy, to consume, to be able to provide profit or something to another party. But as we go up the ladder here, and I may have gotten a little bit too philosophical there, but it is the series' intent, we're going to see the third component of this scene. You see these paper doors here, and everyone's wearing kabuki masks, and they're all writhing on top of each other, and that is definitely an orgy scene. There's no two ways around it. But even the desire to eat a human child is more powerful than that orgy. And that's really what the main intent of the game is that children are food in this universe. Childhood is not valued. It's just valued as a commodity like a cow is to a butcher. But when I first played this scene, it was absolutely terrifying, even though I was able to get through it easily. All of these people chasing you, trying to eat you as they writhe on the ground, it's definitely something that a child's mind could imagine, but it's also something that's terrifying as an adult in some strange way. They want to eat you so much, one woman falls to her death. But that's just a small slice of Little Nightmares. This game has a lot of different themes, and I 100% recommend you go out and buy it and play it for yourself because it is unlike anything else I've ever played. But that's kind of what Philosophical Pondering is going to be about. 10 episodes, all on different subjects in gaming that are different than what you would normally expect. We really appreciate you watching. If you could do us a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe. We'll be back on Friday and then Sunday with another episode, and we'll be back on Tuesday with another episode in Philosophical Ponderings. Short of that, thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.